Hey, everybody. Streaming storytelling for adults or mature young people show called Have I Told You the One About Becky and the Hidden Drugs? Is that backwards for you? It's backwards for me. I won't even ask. Who knows? Becky and the Hidden Drugs. So, since yesterday, which was my first day, I have to say I'm very excited because I've created a little plan. So, I did some planning. It's the educator in me. And I made up a whole bunch of cards with all my different story ideas. And instead of just picking some random story out of my head, I thought we could pick them out of a magic story bag. And do you know how I know that it's a magic story bag? Because it's written on it, magic story bag. So at the end of, don't let me forget, at the end of my show, I'm going to pull a story out of the magic story bag, and then you'll know what we're going to do tomorrow. So because I also have a plan and I've been thinking this through a little bit, I thought I would make a little system. Don't worry, I'm not going to do this every time. I'm going to start into the story right away. But this is brand new, and I didn't want to do it yesterday because that'd be boring. So, what did I want to tell you? Oh, yes. It's live, and it doesn't need to be polished. Do you know why? Because it's free. So the magic story bag, there's 15 stories in here. I'm open to suggestions. People could also send me suggestions if you wanted. But for the time being, I'm fine. I got 2 weeks worth of material. And I wanted to say that in 24 hours, I managed to get 100 new subscribers, like 100 subscribers just like that. It's so weird. It's magical. And it's my first video was viewed more than 200 times. I was never that popular in high school, which shows you that it does get better. Thank you, Dan Savage. And the other thing is, two things really. Yesterday, my friend Rob sent me a little note saying Stockholm Syndrome, which was really nice of him. But then but it wasn't actually that important. But afterwards, he asked me a question that was very important, but he didn't ask it in the little sidebar in the live chat. So if you have a question that's important, you can ask it and I'll pay attention, and then I won't forget important things. Like explaining what the Enneagram 8 is. We've all Googled it now anyways, except Rob, who had to ask me. Anyways, hi, Rob. I love you. So you could ask questions. That'd be really nice. You can also, my friend Belay Nickerson, the great poet, if you're bored, you could pick up some of his books and read them because you're sitting around and you have time for poetry. He suggested that people send in a little message on the live chat that says where you're from, where you're watching from, because we're all isolated. So it's good to know in what part of the world you're isolated. And lastly, after my story, instead of just disappearing, I thought I would stick around, and this is going to be an added bonus for people who watch. I will stick around and I'll answer questions to the best of my ability. Ideally, questions about the story. But, I like giving out advice. But I'm going to cut those out. So if you don't watch live, you don't get to see the question and answer. And maybe you don't care about them anyways. So here we go. Are you ready for Becky and the Hidden Drugs? I'm very excited. So Becky was my best friend. She moved to, I went to Sydney Street Public School in Cornwall, Ontario, which is the last city on the 401 in Ontario before you hit the Quebec border. It's about 20 minutes from the Quebec border. It used to be a pulp and paper mill town because of Domtar, and it was really stinky, and everybody said it was really gross. So people didn't want to live there. Anyways, it's kind of a shithole. It's a much nicer shithole. It's a cleaner shithole now. It's one of those shitholes you don't mind getting close to. But when I was younger, it was like the sort of shithole that, you were like, buddy, you've had a long day. Maybe you need to shower. So Becky started at Sydney Street Public School. It was a fairly poor school. We were fairly poor people, she and I. And her mom had been a single mom for quite some time. I met her in grade 5 when she started at the school, and we just became fast BFFs. She lived up the street from me, like 3 blocks away. I had delivered newspapers near her house, and we just got along really well. So much so, just so you know what kind of BFFs, I sort of wore this as like a little badge of pride, though I couldn't tell anybody about it. Becky had her first period standing in my kitchen. She was supposed to stay for meatloaf and scalloped potatoes. And she suddenly went home, and I couldn't figure out why. And I realized something was weird. So I wasn't going to bug her. She was just acting a little strange. And she went home, and the next day she told me. She didn't tell me right away. That would have made us BFFs forever. She just told me the next day, but I was pretty impressed. I was like, I was the first person she ever told who wasn't family that she had her period. So that was the kind of person I was. And her mom was this feisty, chain smoking little redhead. She was about 5'2". She had a mouth on her like a trucker. She probably scared the truckers. And she was really fun, and she really loved me because we were small town girls. We knew how to talk to each other. And Becky was born out of wedlock when her mom was a teen mom. So she was one of those chain smoking teen moms from a blue collar family. So you can imagine, right? And she was very protective of Becky because teen moms, right? You don't want them to repeat the problem. And Becky had big boobs. She had the biggest boobs in grade 5. Maybe Laura Russia had bigger boobs. Anyways, they both had big boobs. She developed early. She was 12. Yeah, 12 when I met her. So we got along like a house on fire. I just love hanging out with her. She used to let me do her makeup all the time. And I would pretend that I was really good at makeup because I was artsy. But her mom knew that I was gay. And her mom, I distinctly remember this. I put this in my book. I have a memoir. My husband said I should plug my book in my memoir. There's my book. You could buy it at the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, the great bookstore, queer bookstore in New York City. Anyways, so what was I telling you? Oh, Jesus. Becky, grade 5, teen mom. Oh, and her mom, I distinctly remember her mom standing at the stove, and she turned to me and she looked at me and she said, Michael, you're a very pretty boy, but you would make a beautiful girl. And I was like, who the fuck says that to 12-year-old boys? Becky McDonald's mother does. Oh, I didn't mean to say her last name. Well, whatever. Who cares? There are a million of them in the world. Oh, that's the problem with live, right? Oh, well, she loves me. I'm sure she still loves me. So her mom saw right through me. She knew that I was a big old fag. So she would let Becky do anything with me. Becky was not allowed to have any male friends, but she was allowed to have me because I was femme. Imagine me with long curly hair because it was the 70s. And I had these long eyelashes. I had these really big, huge, it was crazy. I looked like a drag queen if a drag queen was a 12-year-old girl, boy who was being a girl. Anyways, so she adored me. So we were allowed to do anything together. We could do all kinds of things. We'd go to the movie theater and, nothing crazy, but we would have a night out on the town for 12-year-olds with my paper route money. And the great thing about Becky is, this is the last thing I want to tell you before I actually start the story, because this is just context. I'm just giving you, setting the scene. Becky was the first friend who I ever chose myself. Like, there were other kids at the school, and she came in, and I thought she was great, and I became her friend. I wasn't her friend because her desk was next to me. I wasn't her friend. I was her friend because I chose her in grade 5. I picked a friend. I was like, oh, I want her to be my friend. And we learned how to speak Gurgen together. That's how. Do you know how to speak Gurgen? Anyways, that's another time. So, Becky and the Hidden Drugs. So, Becky's mom had this new boyfriend, or this other boyfriend who wasn't Becky's dad, Gary. And they'd been together for a little while. And Becky used to sleep in the front porch. It was the sunroom, but it got turned into her bedroom in a duplex. And finally, they bought their own house and they moved out of that place because it was cold in the winter and for Becky because she was sleeping on the sun porch. And she got her own, they moved into a new duplex somewhere else, and she got her own bedroom that was a real bedroom, and it was really great. And it was exciting. It wasn't that far away. I had a bike, so I would go visit her. We were all thrilled that she got this new house. And she'd only been there about maybe a week. And her mom started to act really funny, and Becky couldn't figure it out. And her mom was crankier. She was kind of, testy woman, but she was really cranky. And she was there was clearly something up. And just, we didn't think anything of it, but there was this gang of teen boys that were probably they must have been about 14 because we were 12. They were a couple years older than us. And there were a bunch of boys that hung out across the street. And the story was that the guy who lived there was 14. His parents were at the Long Sault Parkway. The Long Sault Parkway, when they flooded, I'm giving you more backstory, but whatever. What else do you have to do? When they flooded the area to put in the power dam that's in Cornwall, there's the St. Lawrence Seaway Power Dam. They created this set of little islands that just naturally there were little bumps in the land, and they made little islands, and it became a big camping destination. So his parents would go there. It was 40 minutes away, and they would go camping for the entire summer in a trailer and drive to and from work. And they just left that 14-year-old to his own devices. They'd come back for, a night now and again. So all of his friends would hang out there. So I go over to Becky's house one day, and she says, "You're not going to believe this. My mom has been acting so weird. She pulled me aside today and she told me what's up." And I was like, "Well, what's going on?" She said, "Those kids who've been hanging out across the street?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "One of them's my brother." I was like, "What do you mean you're an only child?" And she said, "I thought I was an only child. But my mom saw one of the best friend of that. He was this really pretty. I've been checking him out. He had sort of really pretty blue eyes and curly, longish, locks of hair. Like he had little ringlets of hair that sort of stuck up. And he wore, like black metal t-shirts and jeans and jean jackets. It was the 80s. And he was still kind of like metal rocker or whatever. Not still, but whatever. He was super cute. And that was her brother. Her mom had a baby boy younger, and she was a teen mom twice. She had a baby boy and gave him up for adoption, but kept in touch with the family, never told Becky. And all of a sudden, Becky's 12 years old, and there's the boy. She recognizes her son because she saw him every once in a while. She knew the parents. And she was like, "Okay, well, they're going to find out eventually. And I don't want my 12-year-old flirting with the 14-year-old and then finding out it's a whole episode of Game of Thrones." You know what I'm saying? So she said, "Okay, I better tell her." And she did. And it was shocking. It was amazing. Like, imagine what a story. So Becky and I like to get into trouble. And I have another story in my box about Becky and I getting into trouble. I don't remember the title of it. We like to get into trouble because we were curious and we were bored and we like to have a lot of fun. And we would just do things together. And uh, so one night, all the boys ended up going out on the town. And Becky said to me, "I know they do drugs. I heard them talking about smoking drugs or something. And so I think we should go try to find them." Like, I'd never smoked. I'd never drank. I was the kid. I was such a geek. I was the kid that would call my mother in grade 7 and say, "Mom, can you come pick me up because people are drinking? I'm not comfortable at this party anymore." This was 2 years before that. So I was super square. And uh, but Becky was a lot of fun and she was my first friend. And so I was like, "Okay, I'm totally going to do this." So we we wait, all the lights are off. Everybody's left. We were spying on them. We go out to the side of the house and we open the window, and Becky, I'm lighter than her because I don't have boobs. I didn't weigh anything. I was really short and skinny. And she hoists me up into the window, and we end up in the kitchen, and I come around and I unlock the door, and we get in. So we think, okay, we're going to go look for the drugs. So we open up all the kitchen cupboards and everything else. And then Becky finds a little baggie and she's like, "Oh my God, look, I found it. I found the drugs." And she goes inside and, and we look at it and we smell it and it doesn't smell like anything. And she sticks her finger in, and it was flour or cornstarch. I don't know. It was something stupid. So we gave up in the kitchen. I was like, they're not going to hide it in the kitchen. They don't want people to eat it accidentally. We didn't know what drugs looked like. Like, they said they smoked drugs, which must have been pot, but we were looking for coke because, I was just getting ready for the 90s and my fag life. We didn't know what drugs looked like. We had no idea. And so then we decided, okay, we're going to go into the living room. And keep in mind, we barely know this kid, right? Like, she's just found out that this is her brother's, her brother that she never knew, best friend. It's only been like a week or something that they've all been united. We don't know anything about this person really, and we've broken into their house. And all the lights are off, so it's really dark. And we go into the living room, and there's this big hutch at the side of the living room. And we go in, I go into it, and I pull out a drawer, and I find this little white box. And I was like, Becky, 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 come here, come here. I found it. I found it. I found a little white box. And I opened the lid, and there's this cotton batten. And I lift the cotton batten, and in the little box is a glass eye. There's an eyeball. You don't know it's a glass eye, right? Have you ever seen a glass eye? They look like real eyes. There's an eyeball sitting in the fucking box. And we screamed our lungs out. We were like, ah. And I had to hang on to it because I have an eyeball in my hand. You don't want to get caught. I had to hang on to it. I was like, ah. We screamed our little guts out. And then we had to stop screaming, right? Because we suddenly realized, wait a minute, we're screaming and we're in a house and I'm holding this thing and I put it on the counter. And then, just like that, there's a big grandfather clock that goes off in the background behind us. Boom! And we screamed all over again. And then we were like, shh, you gotta be quiet. It was terrifying. And then, anyways, so that wasn't the drugs, obviously. You can't snort glass eye. So we started to, wander a little further, and we decided we were going to go upstairs. And just as we were going upstairs, we hear the kids come back. Those boys are back because they're on their bikes. We hear them outside the window. It's summertime, right? So, maybe one of the windows were open. Oh, we opened the window downstairs of the kitchen. We probably closed it again. But anyways, we heard them outside, and we were like, "Holy shit, McGrit! Here I am, a little 12-year-old pipsqueak of a fag with these 14-year-old boys, and I've broken into their house with Becky with me, and I was just fucking shitting my pants." So we run upstairs, we finish running up the stairs, we go into the closet, and there's a wardrobe, not a closet, like a wardrobe in the bedroom, in the master bedroom. So we climb into the wardrobe and hide behind the dresses. And we're in there, and then they come into the house. Like, what are you going to do? And because we couldn't go out the front door, they come in the back door. We didn't, it was just terrifying. So we're hiding, and all of a sudden, Becky sneezes because we're in the closet. It's dusty. She sneezes. And we hear everybody downstairs stop talking, and they're like, wait a minute, what was that? It is so, it's that one of those moments, those moments where your heart's racing so fast and everything's really feels really slow. You're taking in an enormous amount of information. It's like when you get too stoned, right? You're taking an enormous amount of information at once, so it makes time feel really slow, but it's only because you're processing so much. You're sort of on stimulation overload. I had one of those crazy feelings, one of those crazy moments. And I thought, these kids are going to kill me. They're going to beat me to death. Like, what do you do when you're a little fag? So I said, Becky, you have to go downstairs. And she was like, I can't go downstairs. I'm like, they're gonna kill me. They don't even know who I am. They've seen me from across the street, and I couldn't say I'm a little fag, and I was like, or a little sissy, but I was like, like they'll murder me. And she was like, okay, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs. What am I gonna tell them? And we're whispering, and then her brother starts to come up the stairs, and I hear him. He's like, oh, blah, blah, I'm coming out. I'm gonna find out who the fuck is up there. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I was like, I don't care what you tell them. You just make anything up. Tell them that you thought you left something here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell them you thought you left something here. She goes, my purse. I'll tell them I left my purse. She goes, but I don't have my purse. I'm like, yeah, it's not here, but you'll find it somewhere else. You got to go home. You got to look for it. I'm clever. I can think on my feet. So, anyways, she goes downstairs. She runs into him in the hallway. He's freaking out. He's like, what are you doing in here? Anyways, and it's super crazy. So, while she keeps them busy, I go out the bedroom window. I climb out the it's the front of the house. I climb out the bedroom window, and I'm standing on the balcony, and I climb down the side of the balcony, and I manage to, what do you do? Shimmy down all the metalwork, and I run over to her house, and there weren't any cell phones. So then I just waited for her to get out of there, and she was in there forever. And I thought I was going to lose my mind. Anyways, she ended up coming back, and all was fine. She told them that she lost her purse. They were a little suspicious, but they're 14-year-old boys, right? Like, you're just a little ba-bump, ba-bump, and they get all distracted and they forget what's going on, even if it's their brother, their biological brother. Um, uh, And the next summer, that's the end of the story. But the next summer, Becky and I stopped being friends because she lost her virginity to people. And was it the next summer? No, it was 2 years later. We were friends for 2 years. Anyways, it was very sad. She lost her virginity, and then she just didn't want to be my friend. She only hung out with girls, and I should have told her that I was a fag, and then we could have been better friends. Anyways, Becky and the Hidden Drugs, the end. Thank you for joining our story hour. And now, can we have a drum roll? I'm just assuming that you're doing that in the privacy of your own places. And now we reach into the magic story box. Oh, bag. Oops, I was talking about girls and I started talking about boxes. Magic story bag. And tomorrow's story is, oh my Jesus Lord, we're starting off strong. Grandma Cooper's corpse. I hope my family's not watching this yet. Anyways, tune in tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific time for Grandma Cooper's corpse. And you can disappear. And if you want to ask some questions, I'll stick around for a little bit and answer questions. And if you're Becky McDonald, don't hate me. I wanted to also mention that, I had some stats. I also wanted to mention that, I can't even remember. I don't have any questions. Who cares, right? Do we care? Are questions slow to come? Oh, somebody said they love me. I love you too. I love everybody. The other thing that I was thinking was really exciting was, I was thinking I've never had a problem being charming. And so even if I was very nervous. Did I mention I was very nervous yesterday? I was super nervous for my first story. I thought all these people are going to be watching. And then today I realized I had a really good fun time though, telling the story. I love telling stories. It's a good reason to talk. I love talking. When I was young, my mother would say to me, Mick, would you shut up? Were you vaccinated with a gramophone needle? Because I love to talk. And then I realized all I have to do is be myself. I just have to be charming. And if people don't like it, they just don't watch. And the only people who watch are the ones who like it. So there you go. Somebody's asking me what the certificate is behind me. That is a piece of artwork. I teach at the University of British Columbia, the Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies, and Creative Studies has fine arts. And every year they do a fundraiser for the graduating students, and they auction off, they sell tickets and they auction them off. And so that's student work. And so that, if you look, maybe I don't want to move the camera because I'm like that. But if you look, it's, what's that thing called? A library card. It's not a library card. What's that? An index card. It's like a Dewey Decimal System index card. And the artist blew it up and made a print of it, which is so great. Well, anyways, there aren't any other questions coming through. Maybe there is other questions somewhere else. Who cares? But I love you all. Thanks for tuning in. It'd be really helpful. Monday is my birthday. Monday, March 23rd, 1971. I'm going to be 49 years old. I know it's hard to tell, except I'm really white. Not just white as in, Caucasian, but white as in 49. It'd be really great if for Monday we could get some more people signing up. So that's my last little plug to you. And I love you all, and thanks for listening, and love you, whatever. Bye.